We good to go, Shelby?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. So we're going to call City Council business meeting for Thursday, June 18, 2020 to order. It is 6 o'clock. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Reba. Here. Cool. Oh, he's muted. Is the fact that I can see him good enough? There he goes.
There we go. I'm here. Thank you.
Livingston,
Here.
Mayor Tom Phillips.
I am here as well. So we do have quorum, so we will move on. This meeting of the Norwalk City Council on July 16th, 2020 is being held electronically. Governor Reynolds issued a state of public health disaster effective June 10th, 2020 that removes limits on gathering, but physical distancing limits are still in place. I issued a proclamation of emergency effective May 15th, 2020 that opened up our public buildings, but due to limits on physical distancing, it is impossible to hold this meeting of the City Council in person at City Hall. Therefore, this meeting will be conducted electronically. As with all electronic meetings, there may be some technical glitches. We may talk over each other, and there could be a bunch of other issues that occurred during a meeting tonight. I just ask that we all be patient and respectful with each other as we conduct this meeting. For those of you on the Zoom meeting, you'll notice that your microphones are muted and that you probably can't unmute your mic. If you want to speak to an agenda item, please let us know when that item comes up and we'll unmute your microphone during public comment. You can let us know either through raising your hands or putting something in the group chat and we'll see that. Once you've finished, we ask that you remute your microphone after we have unmuted your microphone. Once the hearing, we don't have any public hearing tonight, so I'm not going to go over that. So if you are disruptive, we'll give you a warning. We'll remove you from the meeting if you continue to be disrupted, and you will not be allowed back in. This is what would happen with an in-person meeting, so it really isn't a change to any of our procedures. We are now streaming our meetings through YouTube. We believe YouTube has a much broader audience, allows a much broader audience to view our meetings since you don't need an account to view. And the ability to comment to the YouTube meeting has been turned off, so we don't have a meeting going on within a meeting. We are recording this meeting, so please act accordingly. And finally, I'm only human. I may miss recognizing someone, especially changes that have occurred within the last month or so. If that happens, please interrupt me via the chat box. I won't be offended at all if you do. So next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda?
Move item M to be kind of in conjunction with number, I think it's 9. I just have a question on it, on both of those. So you can put them together then. And then I would like to remove item 10 just simply because it wasn't on the agenda issued last Friday, even that it was going to be issued yesterday. So
you have the ability to table that or make a motion to table that if you want to when that item comes up. Anybody else have any changes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same.
aye.
All right, motion is approved. So we'll move on. Item number 3 is welcome guests and public comment. This would be the time that public would make comment on any non-agenda items. We'll give you a 3-minute time limit. We can't take action on those tonight since they're not on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. So we'll go ahead and see if anybody wants to speak. And I don't have any messages, so I think we'll go ahead and move on. Item 4 is approval of the June 29th, 2020 minutes of the Joint City Council Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting. Does anybody have any changes?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item 5 is approve the July 2nd, 2020 minutes of the regular city council meeting. Does anybody have any changes to those?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same. That motion carries. Item 6 is consent agenda. We have expenditures, tax abatements. We have a renewal Class C liquor license with outdoor service and Sunday sales for Outskirts at 8384 South Arilla Road for September 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2020. We have a reappointment of Stephen Clark to the
I'm
library.
sorry,
board.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just noticed, right, September 1st, 2020 to August
Oh.
31, 2020 doesn't work.
That would be 2021, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point.
I may wish to go back in time, but I don't want to do this year again.
That's for sure. Yes. Item D is to reappoint Stephen Clark to the Library Board of Trustees, effective retroactively from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2026. We have a reappointment of Elizabeth Thompson to the Planning and Zoning Commission, effective retroactively from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2025. We have an appointment of Kelly Stewart to the Library Board of Trustees, effective retroactively from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2026. We have an appointment of Catherine Thorson to the Board of Adjustment, effective retroactively from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2025. We have a resolution approving the disposal of city property, the 2008 Chevrolet Trailblazer. A resolution approving a 28E supplemental agreement for snow removal on Iowa 28 between Iowa Department of Transportation and the city of Norwalk. We have a resolution changing the date involved with the 2020 community cleanup drop-off event. We have a resolution approving the ESRI Small Municipal and County Government Enterprise Agreement for GIS software. We have a resolution approving commercial improvement grant program payment to Fairway stores in the amount of $43,500. And we have a resolution, no, we don't have that one. And we have monthly reports. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Member Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. I gotta go back to my page here. Item 7, consideration to remove from table a resolution approving the Holland Point turn lane agreement with Hubble Realty Company, was originally tabled April 16th, 2020. So we need to remove it from the table so that we can discuss it with the next item. Can I get a motion to remove from the table?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Item 8 is consideration of resolution approving turn lane agreement for Holland Point. So there was a traffic study performed for the Holland Point development, and the study indicated we needed a left turn lane for the westbound traffic. This agreement allows the developer to give the city money to be used for a turn lane when we expand Beardsley sometime in the hopefully near future. Luke Paris, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just that, again, we approved this during we approved the prelim plat with the condition that we come back and do this. So this agreement reflects kind of what we talked about during that prelim plat side, so.
All right, thank you. Any discussion or comments from council?
So you know me, I like maps. I just want to make sure I understand because we have an awful lot of Holland in Norwalk. So this is the area that's going to be generally across from Echo, the Ridge entrance. Is that accurate or not?
The Ridge entrance is the easternmost entrance. There's 3 entrances in there, and there's the Ridge entrance is the easternmost one. Then there's a central development entrance, And then there's a western entrance that's closer to Elizabeth Holland Park. This turn lane would be at the western entrance closer to Holland Park
On Beardsley.
on Beardsley, yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
This will be considered their main entrance.
It's the entrance that the traffic study showed would have the most
Most.
traffic because of the apartment
Okay.
ground that's located off of the area on the south side of the development. I don't know that it would be considered the main entrance, but
Okay.
it's the one probably have a lot of traffic going through because of that apartment complex.
So,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Brian.
No, that's it. Thank you.
So between Elizabeth Holland Park and 80th, there may be 3 entrances to the
Yes.
south.
That's correct.
And when might we see, or have we already addressed the other 2?
The traffic study that we had conducted as part of the preliminary plat did not recommend the need for turn lanes at the other 2, partly because they have lower anticipated traffic volumes on them due to the lower density residential in those areas.
So the other 2 will likely just have in and outs, but not turn lanes.
Yeah, and I guess to re-clarify that, outside of the Holland Point traffic study that we've done the Beardsley traffic study, which did talk about ultimately there being a central left turn lane that runs the entire distance, basically Beardsley being a 3-lane cross section with a continuous center turn lane. What the traffic study is saying is that the need for a center turn lane at those other 2 development entrances is not warranted because of the development. So we did a study that said, good transportation practices says we should do that long term. The Holland Point study says that the need for that's not because of the development.
So the proposal, what we're being asked to approve is that we would agree to this left turn lane. And then at some point we may put in a center turn lane. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the left turn lane would essentially be like a center turn lane. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand because a left turn lane and a center turn lane are very different things to me.
This is a right turn lane, isn't it?
Luke, can you pull up a copy of the plat, just that conceptual drawing we had at one point?
Shelby, you may need to make Luke Paris a co-host.
Yeah, I guess which Luke are you requesting to do that?
Paris, or whoever might have it.
Okay, let me
I'm
find
trying
it
to
and
find
then
it in my files and I can't find it.
Yeah, give me one moment.
I don't see in the resolution where it says whether it's a right or a left turn lane. I guess that's one of the things I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Sorry, I was assuming it was a right turn lane, I think.
Right?
Great question, though.
Oh, there is, it says, yeah, I don't know.
Right now, you're just
I'm
looking.
sorry, I've got to dig through all the plat files we have to find that one.
Mayor, aren't we just asking for a resolution to, authorize the agreement for funding?
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
we're not,
I understand that, but I'm not willing to authorize agreement for funding when I don't know what I'm authorizing agreement for funding for. And so that's what I'm trying to understand.
no, that's fine, Jackie. I was just thinking that, we weren't actually establishing the turn lane now, were we?
So in the
Yeah, the concept in the agreement is that they'll provide us dollars. We had them provide a cost estimate for turn lanes there, and that the city would actually end up being the one that installed it in conjunction with a larger project in 2023 on Beardsley that would encompass the Highway 28 Beardsley intersection and then the stretch of Beardsley going back to this development entrance. So here, I've got this prelim plat available now, so I
The
can
development,
share.
the development
that.
agreement says moderate traffic increases will warrant a left turn lane on Beardsley Street at the western development entrance of the property. So it is a left turn.
Mhm. Yeah,
So the prelim plat doesn't show that, but you can see where the two development entrances are. This is the easternmost, and then the central one is the one on the other side of the screen there. Let me zoom in more. So again, we don't have any design on what that would be other than what the study is recommending should be. So we asked Hubble to give us what they thought a cost would be. We had our engineer, V&K, take a look at that cost and agree to it. And I believe they originally came back to a cost of 60-some thousand in the mid 60s. And because we were planning on doing that in 2023, we did just apply a inflation factor to that to get it up to, I think, the 73,000.
Okay, so again, I just want to make sure that I understand.
Hi.
This is a resolution to approve the agreement, which basically says HRC Norwalk agrees to pay the city $73,500 in connection with the street widening project, which is anticipated to be the cost of a left turn lane at the western development entrance. And the city anticipates that that's one part of what will be a center turn lane for the entire or most of the entire length of Beardsley from the start of the development from the westernmost part of the development to wherever the last entrance is before 80th. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So this portion will be just the first section of what will be a continuation, right? We're not like putting in one lane and then later putting in a separate lane someplace else. We're just continuing where the lane's going to be.
Yeah, the thought here would be, because we're going to try and pair it with that larger city project, is you'd have all the improvements happening at the Iowa 28 intersection, then likely have it taper down to that 3-lane cross section all the way in front of the park and 1908 Draft House, all the way down to and through this intersection. And then it would probably drop back down to 2-lane until the city enacted whatever we wanted to do for the second phase of that project, going back to what I would be Echo Valley entrance, the Ridge entrance.
Okay, but the concept or the engineering design is that it will be one continuous lane and not one lane that is someplace and then we move the rest of it someplace else, right? I mean, right, it's going to be one continuous
That's my
like
understanding
center
of
lane.
what the Highway 20 or I'm sorry, not Highway 28, the Beardsley traffic study. That's what its recommendation was. That's my understanding of that. I mean, we've not fully designed that yet, so I guess I can't definitively say that's what it would be.
it was my thought that it was a lane added to the south side of the street. So in other words, part of your thought of a right lane as you're heading down there makes sense. But in any case, that alone would make it 3 lanes. It's not going to be swerving in and out, as Jackie is saying.
Yeah, if I could talk to the attorney on the other side when we're working on this agreement, I think ultimately what you're going to see is a 3-lane road all the way to the stretch of Beardsley. And we're not going to point at a certain spot saying, okay, this is what Hubble paid for right here at this spot. But from the traffic study, it warranted Hubble's contribution
for that area because their development was going to cause the need for at least traffic control or traffic movement at that spot. So ultimately, we decided on that dollar amount, and that dollar amount is going to be used towards the total project. It's not that we're going to take this dollar amount and cut a check for this little spot that this is Hubble's construction right here. It's going to contribute towards the bigger overall project. And I don't think you're seeing a right turn lane on the south side of the road. I think you're going to see a straight road with 3 lanes ultimately going all the way through. But the developer contributed towards that because their development helped cause the need, at least at that location.
Right.
And so Luke, it doesn't look like there will be a right turn lane contemplated into here. So the car's just going to approach and turn right. I mean, I see it's flared out a little bit, but
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
What else you got?
So, right, I understand. I appreciate the clarification. I guess part of my problem is the way that the development agreement is written, because it says that HRC Norwalk has agreed to pay the cost of the turn lane. And they're not paying the cost of the turn lane, they're paying for the cost of a portion of the turn lane. And I might be splitting hairs, but that matters to me. If I'm correct in that understanding, then I would ask to modify the amendment to say that they're paying for a portion of it, not that they're paying for the cost of it.
Yeah, I think the intent was that they pay for the cost of the turn lane. That if the city wasn't doing any new project out there, the traffic study would have said, hey, there needs to be a third left-hand turn lane here for westbound movements, and they would be responsible for paying that. And so that portion is what the $73,000 is meant to represent.
Hey, Jackie, what paragraph were you referring to in that?
I'm sorry. So I think, Jim, I didn't hear you all the way. I think you asked me what paragraph I was referring to.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
I'm looking, the main heading on the page is development agreement,
Yep.
right? And so there's, whereas, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th paragraph that says, whereas HRC Norwalk has agreed to pay the cost of the turn lane. Here's my concern is, I'm not right. I'm not this. Yes, I want them to help pay, but we're not talking about putting in a turn lane or a left turn lane for only that development. We're talking about putting this money towards the cost of the rehab for the street and including a turn lane. And I don't, right? They will pay the cost of a turn lane on Beardsley Street at the Western Development entrance. I don't feel like I feel like that's too vague. So if we add the words, a portion, or they will contribute to the cost or something like that, that to me is more accurate about what's happening.
But they are paying for the turn lane. All of the turn lane.
No, they're not paying for all of, they're paying for, that's my question, Mr. Mayor. Are we doing only one turn lane into the Western Development, or are we doing a continuous turn lane? And if we're only doing one turn lane, then what is the turn lane? Because this references a left turn lane. Some people who read it thought it was the right turn lane. I want this to be clear so we all know exactly what we're talking about, so that in 15 years, when this finally gets all done, we don't go back and say, well, I don't know what it meant.
How about if we say HRC agrees to make a turn lane payment as described below?
That's fine with me.
How about if we do that? Because I'm sure they'll be okay with that. HRC Norwalk has agreed to make a turn lane payment. Because we described turn lane payment in number 1 after the now therefore. We have that number 1. And that defines what turn lane payment is.
Yeah, that's fine with me. That to me better describes what's happening.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
can.
trying to change the intent of it. I'm just trying to make it more clear, frankly.
Oh, I'm
To
sure
me,
if you
at
had-
least.
Well, I'm sure if you had those questions, other people would also. So yeah, we can certainly put that in there.
So I would make a motion with that slight modification.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, well, go ahead and Lindsay, would you please call the roll? After I unmute you, hang on. There you go.
Thank you. Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. David, would you like to do these one at a time, or do you want to talk about them?
I'll just ask my piece on both of them is, and I've talked to Wayne about them, and Wayne, I think, knows what I'll say, but so my frustration is these are both with Snyder, and I'm frustrated with engineering agreements that have to be amended. One of them's for the North Avenue and Highway 28 agreement, and it's because of our fiber network that's sitting there, and to me, I just get frustrated with the engineers. This is more for staff, that I get frustrated with the engineers coming back and asking for 10 and 15,000 more dollars on a project because they didn't see the stuff ahead of time or whatever, and it's frustrating. That's all I really wanted to say about both of them together. I didn't want to have to say it twice, so sorry.
All right. Okay, so item M from the consent agenda was a resolution to approve construction engineering services for the Iowa 28 Colonial Trail project. And it looks like this is to Wayne or
This one's Robin.
Unmute Robin. Robin, can you help us out with this? What this amendment's for?
Yeah, it's actually a supplement. So the first agreement we had with Snyder was just for professional services. So for basically design of the trail crossing through the bid letting process. And then now this contract is for the construction services. So easiest way to put that is for project management. So any communication or reviewing of design documents, any testing of concrete, if the DOT has questions or if there's communication with the DOT for traffic signalization, they will take care of that. And so basically seeing the project through to completion at this point.
Okay. Any questions for Robin for discussion?
I had a question earlier for the city manager earlier today, and I think he answered it adequately, but just for the sake of everyone else's benefit, I asked the question about limited. And he was able to find out that what they intended to say was that they're not creating a full-time situation with us.
Okay.
You notice that the word limited appears in there quite a bit, and I was just curious what limited meant.
Okay. Cool. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion.
Second,
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
yes,
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Item 9 is consideration of resolution approving supplemental agreement for additional services numbers 1 to professional services agreement for Iowa Highway 28 and Sunset Drive and North Avenue intersection improvements. So fiber optic cables are going to need to be moved due to the improvements at the intersection of Highway 28 and Sunset. Wayne, do you got anything to add?
Just that they're potentially need to be moved. We're gonna have a company come in and what we call pothole the fiber optic to accurately identify the location. And once we have that, then we'll work on a plan to relocate them.
Okay.
Just a little discussion on that. This is something that staff thought about doing on our own, but Snyder's coordinating. There's CenturyLink relocations, MediaCom, Mid-American Gas, and Mid-American Electric that Snyder's helping relocate. And I didn't want to go through and have us relocate the fiber and then find out we had planned on relocating it somewhere that Mid-Am Gas was planning on going and then have an issue out there later on. So we felt it was best to have Snyder coordinate it all. And just to address David's comment a little bit, I would like nothing more than to not have to bring these amendments forward. But that being said, we can't include everything from the very beginning. It's just, it's hard to do. So anyhow, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Wayne? Here now, do we have any public comment? I don't see anybody coming in or raising their hand. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Member Cool,
yes,
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Item 10 is consideration of resolution approving the adoption of a new policy for city branding standards and logo usage. David, would you like to table this?
I would make the motion to table it, and solely because we've had quite a bit of discussion the last couple time meetings at this, and it wasn't on our Friday agenda. It wasn't even there as it was going to be on there, and then it showed up last night. So that's why I want to table it.
I'll apologize. That's my fault, not Holly's or Shelby's or Luke's.
Anybody second the table? All right, we'll go on. So we had a discussion on this for the last meeting. Holly, I'll turn it over to you.
So at the last meeting, I think kind of where we left off was that our staff, our team would try to kind of put together a little bit more specific, branding standard guide to go by, since, we initially brought up the idea of adding in this option for kind of an extra logo that had a little bit more of an official feel to separate us, that we could use for more official purposes. And, it kind of grew from there. It was used maybe in more areas than everybody wanted it to be. So it came back onto council. So we went back and Shelby started putting together a policy. And what's interesting through this process, this is good that we're doing this, because through this process, all of us, including Lindsay, spent a lot of time doing a lot of research, and none of us, maybe Stephanie's able to find it, but none of us have been able to find any evidence of an actual policy being adopted in the past when the city went through this process of going through the branding standard, public process with Strategic America. We know that the council did approve the contract with Strategic America. It's signed, and it was essentially a one-year contract in terms of using what they had designed for the city, which is what we all see today, that we're all still using that same logo and local colors. So that expired 1 year after. So I think the expiration date on it was 2011. or 2012 that expired, in terms of us not having to use exactly those guides or brand standards that they had given to us. So from there on forward, we were able to kind of do what we wanted to with it. And nothing really changed on it clear up until a couple of years ago when we brought back to council the request to just remove the old tagline. It was just outdated. Everybody agreed, we removed that. And then we've just been using the plain logo ever since. So in January, we brought forward the idea or option of adding in just the word city of, as you can see in the little arch there, just to have a separate logo, you know, when we're especially, you know, on any kind of communications that also is next to the chamber or anything else that would be similar to that, just because it's just the word Norwalk. So that could be any community type organization. There's no indication that it's the government form behind that. So that's why we brought it forward. And kind of fast forward to today, you know, it didn't get onto the agenda officially until last night or this morning, last night.
Yes.
We were trying to work through just making sure every detail in this policy that we just wrote and the new branding standards was put together, and that all the department heads had a chance to review it before it came back to council. So, you know, we're fine waiting. If people want to do that, that's fine. Otherwise, if everybody wants to, you know, weigh in on what's in there, if you had a chance to read through it. But essentially, and Shelby, you can pop in anytime, but Shelby just went through the old branding standards document that we had from Strategic America and essentially used everything because we're not changing really much of it. She used all of that and then just added in this option to have this additional logo, and took out the old tagline and just kind of updated that branding standard, and then gave direction and guidance as to when and where we would use each one, what would make sense when and where we use it. And then we wrote an actual policy. So we've, like I said, we've not been able to actually find a policy that the council ever officially adopted it. So this is probably good we're doing this, because now this will put our standards into place. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
I also wanted to add real quick, the version that's in here, there were a couple additions and changes. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and bring that up right now.
And while Luke's doing that, I would also note, and again, Shelby, feel free, but she discovered in the old branding standard guide that one or two of the fonts that they were guiding us to use are paid fonts. You have to pay for them. So she did switch one of the fonts so that it's a free use, a little bit easier for people to have access to. So that's just a note.
Try to zoom in so people can see this. Sorry, with the internet connection, it's it's lagging a little here. There was a term added here that I'm highlighting. It said must be followed. And there were some discussions about, that seemed like pretty extreme language for having a lack of being able to enforce that. So it was with a little bit softer language of saying should be followed by all employees, departments, mayor, and council. And then we added logo size. There's been significant discussion about having the word city of inside the arches, that in a smaller setting, it becomes almost impossible to read what that is. So we added some language that would offer up that in certain situations, the city of could be removed when it's a smaller logo.
Good, that's well thought out.
Like on clothing.
And then I believe there were a few other more grammatical changes. Holly, is there anything else you want to point out, or Shelby?
I did take out a small paragraph in the policy. It was kind of repetitive. I thought I had removed it before I sent it off. It was a much longer paragraph, and apparently I didn't delete the whole thing. I only deleted part of it. So I did fix that. And then we also, I had created a white version because that's what we use on our website so that you can see it over the images. And so apparently I didn't add that in here. So then I did add that the other variation is white. I didn't add it into the actual document because you can't see it because it's white.
White.
But we have it.
It's there, it's just invisible.
So Luke, can you go back up? I'm trying to page up and I can't. Where it, oh, sorry, no, down. Where it says, okay, stop. First of all, I will say I'm fine with this. It looks great. I don't have any comment anymore on city of versus whatever. The one thing I would like to see is that, so the signage that is already in use, I just want to make sure that if this is approved, that we're not sending the message that everything has to be changed overnight. I like the idea of you change the logo when the next ambulance or police vehicle is purchased. You change it on envelopes when the envelope stock is gone. So I don't want us to go out and spend money and throw away perfectly good materials just because we are now having city of under it.
Right.
That's my opinion.
We agree
It's a
with
good
that.
idea.
Right.
That's a good
I
idea.
concur.
And also a side comment that really doesn't have anything to do with this particular policy. And just reading this, I was reflecting that really how we got to this conversation was because there is confusion with the chamber. So I'm not going to make it an official direction request, but I would encourage staff to meet with the chamber and maybe ask them to consider looking at their logo and changing it. It has, as we've noted here, been over 10 years. Maybe they would do well with a refresh look anyway. And they could also maybe come up with something and then transition over time so that maybe the expectation is within a year, the chamber would have an individual logo. And so it would alleviate a lot of the confusion anyway. That's just a suggestion. I would like to encourage that conversation to happen.
Is it a problem, the appearance of the chamber logo, if we in fact adopt this logo for the city?
There's reference to that specifically in here because we understood that in the past that was granted to the chamber. I don't think anybody's argued that.
No.
So there was an exception.
Yeah, I don't mind them being similar as long as it's not too similar, I guess. You know what I mean? If it's not creating a problem, I wouldn't worry about it. But if
Well, I was just thinking that the reason that we're having this conversation is because there was confusion about, because they are very similar looking.
Yeah,
there was confusion about whether it's a chamber communication or a city communication, and that's why we wanted to add city of. So I just thought, we add city of, and then we go the further step to just have that conversation with the chamber. I'm not saying, go in there and demand that they change. Just would they consider it? Would they consider it?
Yeah, I thought we were taking this action to get clarity. But okay, all right.
Well, it's clarity for the city logo. It wasn't clarity on what the chamber does.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments?
I've got one, and this, if you'll go back up to the agenda statement, Luke, it says there's no cost to this, but there are things that don't have this logo on it and have an old logo on it. And I'm struggling with what is that going to cost to change, because some of that stuff is not routinely changed. So in 5 years, are we still running with the one that doesn't have city of on there because we haven't changed it, or are we going to spend dollars to change those things?
My impression has always been we are not going to expend any additional dollars to change those past logos until they're just cycled out.
Right.
Is anybody okay adding that to the resolution tonight? Because in my opinion, I don't know that that's what's going to happen.
I think that's kind of based on the managers of, the department, and Luke, and all of that would be enforced through them.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but
I don't think it needs to micromanage in the resolution.
Right. I agree
So
with
you're
that.
okay with spending money willy-nilly and that's okay?
No, that isn't what I said at all.
But these are things that aren't like a monument sign isn't something we're going to be changing. But yeah, we've got several of them signs like at Public Works that in 10 years, is it still going to be that sign, or are we going to change it to the city of because the logo's that and that's what we need to change?
I have in there that they can have their department under it. I mean, it's in here. I created a version that doesn't have city of. It says it's the old logo with Public Works underneath of it, and that one is acceptable.
But it says city of, and I'm just asking because that's not in the, is that in the new one that's not in the one that was provided to us yesterday?
Yes, I have not put it in there yet. I just created it this afternoon. So I do have it because the mayor asked us to create that without city of. So I have it. I just haven't copied it in there yet.
So what are we looking at tonight? This is why I didn't want to do this tonight and wanted to wait because it didn't feel like the policy was in a position to be approved tonight.
Hey, Shelby, can I just ask a quick clarification question? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so are you saying that today you made a version of the logo that takes out the city of right here and this?
Yes, I can show it to you. I have it on my computer if you would like to see it. It's basically what their sign says right now outside of their building.
It's not anything new. It's what's already in existence. It just allows for it under this policy.
Yes.
Right.
Sounds great to me.
This,
me
this
too.
policy, but it's not in the policy that was presented to the council. That's what I'm saying. If
Okay.
it's part of this, then add it.
And David, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with your issue, which is fine. I just want to make sure you understand. I hear what you're saying. I am satisfied with the policy. I'm satisfied with how it's written, what the expectation is. I'm satisfied to move forward. I may be the only one, but that is my position.
I'm also satisfied with moving forward, and if it helps, I would make a motion that it would be approved with the insert that I think Shelley's typing right now.
I would second it.
I'm not done discussing if that makes a difference to anybody.
No,
So
I
obviously it
didn't-
doesn't to Jackie because she just wants to say she hears me and wants me to move on and doesn't care what the other side thinks.
It's not accurate. I just don't believe we need to say the same thing over and over again. And I just
we
wanted
can't
to make
agree on
sure you
something.
heard that I was hearing you.
Okay, I'll just stand down and let you make the change, Jackie, because that's what you want.
Well, I hear you too, but if you have a comment to make, you should go ahead and share it with the rest of us.
Please.
I don't have anything more. I guess I'm frustrated with this whole process, and I've expressed that several times. And even tonight, last night we were given something that's gone through several changes today and is still going through changes as we talk through it right now. And that's been my problem with this, is that it's not, if we'd had this 2 weeks ago and could have gone through all this stuff 2 weeks ago, then it would have been on tonight and it wouldn't have been an issue. But it's an issue because we just keep making changes and we're getting told this is in there, but it's not in there. And so I'm questioning what are we approving? And that's why I'm asking these questions, is because they're just not there. And I get that Luke's adding this as we go, but that's the problem I've had with this one, is that we're just inserting things and not, I don't know, an incomplete piece of policy doesn't make sense to approve.
Well, David,
I
I don't
think-
know if this matters, but the policy itself is not going to have everything in it that the branding standard guide document will have in it. That's going to have more details. And it is listed in there that we'll use out the products and the signs that we currently have. That is indicated in the guide document here. The policy is more for the rule side of it or the regulation side of it, but it has been a changing document because at the last council meeting, we said we'd put together a policy and we'd put together a new branding standard document. We'd bring it to you guys. So yes, it was not in, many days advance for you to review it, but that was our point is we'd start with something, we'd bring it to you. If there still needs to be more changes made before you guys do a final approval, that's fine with us as well. But there's so many people that have different ideas and different opinions and different, details that they want on it that we are constantly making changes until everybody is on the exact same page. So, if it takes another round of everybody reviewing it, that's fine with us too. We had to start somewhere.
And I'll just be honest, the one thing that I really want is an answer to how many dollars are we going to spend on changing the logo? And you tell me we're going to use up everything in its useful life, but I just don't believe that's going to be where it ends up, because it's not, even in the wording in the policy, it doesn't say, or in the brand standards, it doesn't say that and even on business cards, it says business cards have to have the new logo on it. So, I mean, in theory, once it's approved by the council, everybody should be getting new business cards. So there's an expense. I mean, based on the brand standards, I'm just trying to, I'm struggling with, even if it passes tonight, which it will, I want to know how many dollars we're going to spend as a city to change the logo. And we didn't change the logo with we didn't bring a professional logo person in to talk about it. I mean, it was all done at staff level, and maybe a little bit of that bothers me, that we just kind of changed the logo because we didn't like how it felt or looked or whatever. I don't know. I'm struggling with some of this still, and the reason to change still doesn't sit with me. There's no real valid business reason to change. And I think it's a waste of taxpayer dollars that we're doing this. So I'll be done.
Would you ask the clerk to read the motion back to us again, please, Mayor?
I didn't make a motion. I just said I was asking Dave if he would be comfortable if the motion were to be made like that. So there is actually no motion out there.
Oh, I thought I heard.
I think
No.
there is.
I thought there was, and I thought I seconded it.
You did.
Okay. Well then, I would like to, just to clarify, the motion that I was going to make, and I apparently did, was to approve the policy with the insertion of the Public Works logo that has just been inserted.
Second.
Okay. And just for clarification, we're going to use all of our current product before changing. So there should be no additional spend with the change to the logo.
That wasn't part of their motion.
Oh, I would agree. For me, right, I think the understanding, as I understand it, is the intent is there's not going to be expenditures. However, if something comes up and some department head comes forward and says, hey, council, we'd really like to change this now, I'm not saying the answer should be no. It may be appropriate. So I don't want in the language that you absolutely can't change anything and spend any money, because there may be a time when it's appropriate. And if there comes a time when it's appropriate, I trust that they'll come back to council and say, hey, we'd really like to change this to reflect what we're doing now. So I'm not asking that you can't spend any money on this, or you can only spend, or tell me exactly how much money today you think you might spend in the next 3 years. I'm not asking for that language.
I think management has gotten the drift of what our intent is here. And it's not to spend money on these things, but yet we're giving them flexibility to make professional decisions. And I think we should move on to the vote.
I agree.
You're muted, Tom, or Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
So are you calling the question?
What?
Are you
Yeah.
calling the question?
Yes, the question's been called, Mr. Mayor.
There you go. Okay, so I have a motion on the table and a second. We'll open it up for any public comment. And I am not seeing anything coming through. So Lindsay, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes,
Okay, that motion carries. Item number 11 is a discussion and possible action related to a change to street projects in the capital improvement plan. So in the CIP, we had Golden Valley scheduled for patching, but after some evaluation, it was found that we can no longer, it's gotten to a point where it's deteriorated enough that we can no longer patch it. And it's going to have to be replaced. The changes to move the money we would have spent patching Golden Valley over patch Oakwood, and we'll need to get Golden Valley replaced, the Golden Valley replacement into the CIP as a near future project. Wayne, is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it, Mayor.
All right, you got anything to add?
Nope.
All right, any discussion from council or questions?
Yes. How near future do you think near future is? But these people have been waiting for a long time to get to their road.
Sure.
And so I understand the logic behind it, but it seems unfair to take their money.
Yeah.
So what can you do to help me understand
Sure.
when it might be?
So a little background on it. If we were to spend $180,000 to patch that road, it would patch about half of it. So half of it would be remaining. And as I drive down that road, I can't find half that road that's worth saving. So that's really what drove it to replacement. I want to say it should be done in the next 3 to 5 years. But there's going to be some tough decisions ahead of us because there's a lot of projects that are 3 to 5 years out. There's a lot of widenings, for Beardsley, for North Avenue. There's intersection rebuilds. And then there's these local streets that are getting in bad shape that need attention. We could do it in 2 years. As early as 2 years would probably be the earliest. We'll have to do an assessment on it if we want to be consistent. We haven't had a lot of complaints on the road actually at Public Works, which is surprising because it is in terrible shape. I think during the CIP process is when we need to identify, I would like to identify a time frame for it and put a date on it, Stephanie, but I can't tell you now. That's going to be a collaborative effort between all of us.
Is this something where you can put, go ahead, David.
I was just going to ask a question. Do we need to go through the NCIS and look at the projects that were left and kind of update some of those? Not a formal one, but I'm just saying, what are we, 9-10 years out on that document now? Is it that far, Stephanie?
No, it was done in 2016-17, I think was the last one, update. Was
We
that,
did an update
well,
that
the
recently?
the original plan was 2012,
Yeah.
but I thought it had been kind of updated as part of the 2016 project on Lakewood Drive.
Okay.
Am I wrong
Oh, yeah.
about that, Wayne?
I don't recall seeing an update on it. And really, from what I've seen on the NCIS, it's really been an incomplete or an unfinished study. From what I understand, it should have been a study of the whole community of Norwalk, and really it studied the Lakewood area and then it stopped. But we do have
Right.
estimates. We have a lot of estimates for rebuilding all of the Lakewood area. Yeah, that's a good idea, David. I'm going to go back and I'll look at that. There is a priority schedule on there of these projects.
Yes. Originally, it was started in 2012 as a project to look at Lakewood streets specifically. And then it changed names to the NCIS because Holly was included and another one. But the other roads were not included. Which is why Jackie had always been asking for a street inventory. Do we have some kind of a plan to do this? So I think that the schedule you gave us maybe a year ago goes a long way toward that.
Right.
Sure.
But so maybe start with that and
yeah,
go forward.
Yep, I'll review what we have for the NCIS, and that'll help us prioritize some of those projects out there. If we make this switch, we will have some extra dollars for patching in other areas, and we've already gone out and gotten quotes for patching some of, I think it's Oak Creek, Hyperion, Waveland. We're planning on spending probably $150,000 in other areas in that community later this year. So they're going to see a substantial investment by the city out there already, which will be great.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you, Wayne. Any public comment? Anybody want to make a motion on this?
Motion.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 12 is discussion and possible action related to the Municipal Utilities Advisory Commission. Wayne, I think I'm just going to turn this over to you.
Awesome, thank you. This is a change that came about when we were looking at appointments to committees a while back, and then council asked us to look into the necessity of the UAC. During our research, we found it's really only necessary to satisfy MS4 stormwater permit requirement where we have to meet annually. So really, there isn't much of a legal requirement there. So we're seeing a lot of opportunity advantages to change the committee to be more of a public works, or I'm sorry, to just abandon that, stop that Municipal Utilities Advisory Committee and make a separate stormwater committee. Community Development does our MS4 permit work, and then Elliot would take over a stormwater committee, and he's already started work on that, and he's really doing a great job of expanding that program or what that could be. We would like to make a public works committee that include streets like we just talked about. It'd be utilities and streets and everything under the public works department, and make it more informal. We spend a lot of time doing minutes, agendas, and it's just not a real loose productive environment. I think this change would help us, and it'd benefit the city. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish. If you guys approve it tonight, then we'd work on the ordinance changes, and that would give you another opportunity to have comments.
I absolutely agree.
I think it's a great idea. I think you're going to get a lot better input, and I think it'd be a great idea.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think it would be about half handy for him, actually.
I'm going to throw an additional comment out there for any elected officials that think they might have interest on the public works, what that work group would be. You might just think of reaching out to the mayor at some point, because as we move down the road, he's going to have to appoint somebody to that work group.
Okay. Thank you. Any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the action?
I move it.
Second.
All right.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries. Item 13 is consideration of the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 177 rates and fees for updated water and sewer capital charge tables. So these aren't the rates due to our daily usage, but rather they're paid by developer during subdivision or when building permit is issued. This extends our current rates until 2029 and then establishes an annual increase after that. Luke Paris, is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yep, basically in 99, we adopted our water capital charge and sewer capital charge ordinance. The purpose of those was to pay for the costs the city would incur for expansion of our services to accommodate future growth. So the idea being that the ratepayers shouldn't be on the hook to pay for water tower or water line expansion to pay for future growth. So these capital charges cover a portion of those. In 1999, we identified a couple projects that we knew were coming up that were needed for growth. What I've done here is identified a couple water projects, and the fact that we're part of WRA now. Every year, part of our WRA expenses are to provide extra capacity at WRA so that we can continue to put more sanitary sewer to the WRA facility. So really what this does is extend that out for the next 10 years because our current rate stopped or remained flat as of 2019. So this gets us a 2020 rate to 2029. And then we went ahead and established it as an annually increasing rate like we have for our other service districts, like our connection fee districts. So that we'll just kind of have that as a perpetually ongoing thing as we have ongoing expenses related to community growth for both of those services.
Okay. What questions does council have for Luke? Or comments?
I assume you did the math. Somehow there was math that went into figuring out what this number would be. And so you've got that $10 a year increase at some point. It drops down to like a 1.7 or something % increase per year. Are you sure that you made provision to cover the inflated costs of things?
The $10 increase per year was just a continuation of what the previous rate table did. The previous rate table established a fee in 1999 and increased it $10 a year every year. So we just continued that forward. So it's basically like just extending that table out for the next 10 years and then continuing it perpetually. We didn't do an in-depth analysis on the percentage change for each year, partly because these aren't intended to fully cover the cost of the dispute of those systems. It's impossible for us to figure that out. We'd have to do individual connection fees if we did that. So it's just meant to represent a portion of that. So yeah.
So did you just look at kind of estimated the growth in the community and the developments that would be done, and then figure out roughly how much it would cost to add new infrastructure, and then take a percentage of that, like 30% is developer and 70% city? I just was curious how you come up with it.
Again, it was more of just a continuation of what was done in 1999, which was they did a bigger detailed study of, should we enact capital charges and how would that work? And then from a fee perspective, we just continued that forward. And then we identified these projects up in the staff report as kind of like, these are the types of projects that those fees will go to pay. And if we didn't have these capital charge fees, we would still be paying those things. It's just they would be paid by ratepayers. So.
Okay, and so, I can't imagine cost ever going down. I can't imagine ever not needing something new in infrastructure. But in the event that we don't, we could end up asking for reimbursement of something that's too high of a reimbursement. Are you considering looking at this like every 5 years, or are you? Is it going to be again from, what is that, 20 years? Should we be looking at it more frequently, so that we know that we've caught everything? I don't know if that made sense.
No, I see what you mean. Where I was coming at it with it was, we know that this cost doesn't fully cover our current expansion needs. And so knowing that, and knowing that the community is going to grow, we're going to have those expenses to provide that extra capacity. We felt like just continuing on what we had done would make sense. It might not be a bad idea at some point to commission a more detailed study to see if those numbers are right. We were just wanting to get something on the books so we could continue to charge these fees going into the future. Because I think right now we could continue to charge the 2019 fee, just it would be that fee every year, but it would, obviously there'd be diminishing returns to that.
I think looking into this also, the original sanitary sewer fee that was established was also based upon on some bonding that was done back then for some major sanitary improvements. It's a little bit more difficult to attribute those costs at this point in time because WRA provides those services, a lot of those services for us in the future expansions to the WRA, which isn't a direct like bond that we're paying at this point in time. I think the factors that Luke was looking at in having this is, first of all, keeping consistency with what was done in the past. I think it'd be very easy to do an analysis on expenses and actually increase these costs. But I think also another aspect of it is probably looking at what other cities are doing and not get out of the market. And as developers, these development costs also. We kind of looked at that also to not be out of the market on the development cost aspect of it, and to have consistency with what we've done in the past, but also recognizing that there are a lot of expenses that could be attributed to future growth that could be looked at as not being appropriate to be charging existing users.
Right. Okay. Good enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Sorry. Yes, Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 14 is consideration of the second reading of an ordinance amending the City of Norwalk zoning regulations, sections 175.04.030.2, 175.04.040.2, 175.04.050.2, and 175.04.060.2 to update minimum garage requirements for two-car garages. So we had the first reading of this ordinance at our last meeting. This changed the minimum garage requirements for homes. Luke, anything to add?
No, sir.
All right. Any discussion or questions, comments from council? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
No.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
No.
All right, that motion carries. Item 15 is consideration of the second reading of an ordinance amending sections 1504 and 1706 for the Norwalk City Code, addressing compensation for mayor and city council. We had the first reading of this at our last meeting. This change increases pay for mayor and city council and will be effective for all elected officials at the next election, which I believe will be in November of 2021. Luke Nelson, anything to add?
Just a clarification that there was some question last time about when that would go into effect. So Mayor, thank you for clarifying, and we have confirmed our city attorney, the League of Cities. We've had several sources that have all supported that.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion or question, comments from council? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, thank you. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 16, consideration of the final reading of an ordinance adopting a new chapter 126 mobile food vendors and amending chapter 177 rates and fees. So we had the second reading of this ordinance change at our last meeting. Any questions or discussion from council?
One quick question. When will it take effect? I should know the answer. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. Sorry.
I can't either off the top of my head. Luke Paris, you got the answer to that one?
I guess the thought was, I guess it'd take effect pretty much immediately. I guess I don't know if there's a different timeline for when certain ordinances would take effect.
Legally, it'll take effect upon final publication of it.
Final publication.
So next week-ish, correct?
Yes, it should go in the paper tomorrow for publication on July 23rd.
And I just want to make sure that staff has communicated with the existing vendors that this is going in effect so they know.
Yep, we'll work to make sure that they can get things filled out and submitted and all that stuff.
I just don't want them to be surprised by it. There's only a couple, so I just wanted to make sure that that was being handled. Sorry, thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, anything else? I get a motion.
Motion.
Second?
All right, I got a motion and a second. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 17, council inquiries and staff updates. Luke Nelson.
Just a couple quick items. First, we are going to be ordering some temperature devices. These are little tablets that as you walk into a building, people will see if what their temperature is immediately. This is in large part will be funded through FEMA, and thank you, Gene, for checking that out for us to verify. Also, been having some great discussions with elected officials. I've been meeting with you. I think I have a few more planned, maybe the end of next week, even into the following week. So I appreciate you folks taking time to meet with me. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, great, thank you. Stephanie.
Nothing, Mayor.
Brian.
Nothing for me.
Lindsay.
Nothing, thank you.
Robin. Got on mute. I think you got it?
Oh, I do. Yes, thank you. I don't have anything. I will just say to David about the construction services and having 2 documents that I agree with you. I would have rather had one. And we'll work on that in the future so that that is not something that they split into 2. I do think in the beginning we were trying to save cost on that and thought that maybe that was something we could try to do in-house. And just given COVID this year was just something we could not do. Also, working with DOT was just something that we weren't versed in being able to handle. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Jean Bosch.
Good evening. Just a quick update on the library. We did reopen to the public on July 6th, and it's been steady but not overwhelming. It's nowhere near the numbers we usually have during the summertime. And we are also offering curbside services in addition to being open, and our patrons have appreciated that we're willing to do both. And I'd also like to thank Councilman Baker for stopping in to say hi and take a look around. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Holly.
Yep. So we are meeting tomorrow with this will be the first time we've actually met in person with the new sports center developers. So things are moving along very surprisingly well there. We're excited about that. And then we have another project working that's from a national developer that would happen on the north side of Norwalk in the North Shore kind of area, and some kind of cool collaboration with other developers that are looking at doing hotels and things like that. So hopefully we can bring a little bit more information about that to you at the next meeting, but they're also kind of on an aggressive timeline, which gives me hope for our development future here in Norwalk. There's a chance that the Kosovo trip might be scheduled in September. I'm not sure how that's going to be pulled off with all the craziness happening with travel restrictions again. But if they're able to, I know that the consulate is working to kind of get special travel plans set up for the Iowa delegation. So there's a slim chance we might be able to get over there and do some business in September. If not, it'll be next spring. And then the last thing would be, I know that the chamber met with the SBA. So Lucinda at the chamber met with the SBA director yesterday, I believe, and she gave her kind of a heads up that Vice President Pence's wife, Mrs. Pence, will be coming into Iowa and wants to visit some of the businesses and talk kind of specifically about their situation with business and COVID and how they're recovering. And they're kind of looking at a few of Norwalk's businesses, some of our newer developments. So that's exciting. So hopefully we'll be able to get some sort of a good press with that if she comes to town. Other than that, I think that's it for right now.
All right, thanks. Gene Furler. I think I have the thing. There you go.
No, the host had to let me in. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, just had a couple items. The finance committee, we met with the auditors today. It was just, I think, to make sure that the elected officials and staff are consistent with our audit process and our needs. I think it went really well and didn't take too long. After that, we talked about a 5-year staffing plan, and essentially it's a financial document that could serve as a general guide regarding staffing levels. So if department heads request new staff positions, we can just plug in these numbers to into the spreadsheet, and it'll kind of give us an idea of what might happen with our cash or reserves based on several factors. And we'll get into more detail. I think it'll be a really good document that we can use in the future. And the plan is to go review it with other elected officials other than the finance committee and then department heads before our next budget cycle. And that's all I had.
Cool, thank you. Assistant Chief Westwold.
Nothing, sir.
Thank you. Chief Coburn.
I don't have anything either.
All right, Wayne.
I wanted to give you an update on the North and Main project. Tomorrow they should have most of that concrete work done up there. It's come together real nice. A shout out to the business owners up there. They've been tremendously patient and great to deal with, except for Doherty. He's been a pain in the butt. There's already been some talk about the next phase of it, which is exciting. Like I said, it looks good. So we'll be excited this fall to create a CIP item extending it. And then also on the CIP, we had council approved a fence and some buffering for public works. We're going out for bids, or we received bids on putting up some fencing. And I don't know if Luke, if you had that picture of that, but we're going to do a fence, a chain link fence, and put some privacy screening on it. We're hoping to provide a little security around the site, but mainly we're trying to hide some of the unsightliness. You know, we have a bunch of piles of dirt and concrete all around the site. We're trying to hide some of that. So at some point you'll see a fence going up, and that's the intent behind it. That's it. Thank you.
There it is. Well, that'll look nice.
Yeah, it'll hide that, you know, all those piles of rubble and stuff. So, you know, there's development going on to the east, and that's what's really driving it. We don't want people out there looking at that all the time.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Good. Thank you. Tony.
Nothing additional, Mayor.
All right, Luke Paris.
Just wanted to add, we've had some good discussions with HBA and developers about the remaining items in our subdivision ordinance. So we're making progress on that and hope to have that all ready for you in August. So that's all I've got for now.
Thank you. Ed.
Just a couple things, Mayor. One, I had the opportunity to sit in on that water works discussion as they try to work their way through a formula going forward, you know, to balance things out. And I just want to let you know, I'd be interested in participating with any work groups you might have on our end, you know, as we try to deal with whatever they come up with. Also, I was just going to make a reminder, that the Deer Golf Tournament is coming up shortly. And I didn't know, Mayor, if you had your team picked already and registered.
I do not, but they're full. I
They
see.
are full.
Are
I
they
saw
full?
it full. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, good thing I got in there. I guess this will be one year you won't beat me, Mayor.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I got.
All right. Thank you. Jackie,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
David,
I've got nothing tonight.
thank you. Jim.
Other than complimenting the road out front, it is almost done, which will be nice. The dust will end. I'll have to get the dusting done, but all in all, it's great. It's going to look really, really good. And I just appreciate everything that they've done. Watch day-to-day progression on it. I'm really impressed with how hard they work. The crews up here have been working hard, and it's I think it's gone smooth. There's been maybe a little bit extra water in the bank's basement, but other than that, I think it went okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Just so you guys know, if you get questions about it, we will be having a fireworks discussion in September. Just our annual fireworks discussion. And I think we're probably going to bring forward some zoning changes in regards to that, as far as where the seller's tents can be located.
Good idea.
We also need to define actually what a tent is. So those types of changes are going to be happening. I thought, in my neighborhood, except for over by Ed Cool's house, most things shut down pretty well right at 10:15 this year. I think the changes to the ordinance as far as being able to do a nuisance, I think that helped a lot as far as after hours ignition goes. So I don't know what you guys experienced around your house, but that's what I experienced around my house. That's all I have. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
How about- all right, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. We're adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Thank you.